Alright, hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. So the next vintage build I'm going to do is this one I picked up at Scale Model World show last month in Telford. The ancient, well, I think this is about 1972 or 67 kit, I can't remember. I did check on Scale Mates, but I will get back to you with the correct date of the Airfix 1/72 scale Boomerang. Now this hadn't been opened, the staples were rusted on, so I've been in just to double check everything was there. I don't want to start to do a video and then find bits missing. By the way, a little tipple tonight. Cheers. Oh, blimey, that's smoky. Right, so let's have a quick look at the instructions. So as per all the old old Airfix bagged kits, they just came out in a one-piece printed bit of paper with the instructions on the back. Pretty basic: fuselage, pilot seat, engine cowl, tail planes, canopy, exhaust and undercarriage and guns. There's not a lot to it, so that's what we're going to do next. I think this was made in Australia, this aircraft. So we'll have a look. Like I say, I did double check to make sure all the bits are there. And there you go. I wonder if that address is still relevant. Right, the transfers, again, I've had good luck with transfers on old kits at the minute and they've been okay. They look a bit battered, but I'm pretty sure they're going to be usable, just going off past experiences. So I'll put them out in the light, what light we get in this country this time of year anyway, and see if they come back to life. So that's not bad, is it? That's quite a nice little detail on that. The little fuselage half. It is a dinky little thing, mind. Wings, rivet detail. Quite nicely moulded. A little bit heavy, but what you expect. Not too bad. Under wing, nice detail. It's going to be a dinky little thing. Probably quick little build. Let's see how they fit together. That looks all right. That looks pretty good. So I'll get started with the Boomerang. I'll do some basic construction. I think I'll go with this finish here because it's got the white tail. So it's the earth and the green and the light grey underneath, but the white tail adds a bit more interest. So we're going to go with that one. Oh, it's got a blue fin as well on the top there. So let's break out the glue. Let's get something stuck together. So I'll put the seat in and then join the fuselage together, and I'll put the pilot in later. Actually, let's see what the pilot looks like, because they've been a bit of a joke in some of these vintage kits. And there he is. That looks more like a Cyberman than a pilot, but he'll get painted up and he'll get put in the cockpit, and we'll get that sealed up. So let's begin. Right, now let's see where we are. So I've built the model up, and you can see the fit is pretty good. So we'll start at the front. So the wing leading edges just needed a bit of a scrape clean. I've drilled holes for the two 303s, so the 4 303 machine guns, Boomerang machine guns. Now I've done a little bit reading on this little Boomerang. So it was a homemade aircraft made in Australia, but by the time that they came into production, they were starting to get Spitfires and Kitty Hawks and P40s and whatnot. So these were used in different roles, like ground attack roles. Now it's a really small plane, so it's going to be a small target. It can hug the tree line and be probably quite difficult to get a bead on. Now this thing, I didn't know, has two 20mm calendar. Yeah, start again. Two 20mm cannons, as you can see on the wings there, and 4 303 Browning machine guns. So it's quite a hell of a punch for such a little tubby little plane like that. That is quite a substantial bit of firepower for this little small plane. Now, back to the build. You can see the wing roots, how good a join that is. That is pretty good. The tail plane's gone on nicely. The undercarriage wheel is nice. I need to clean up. The only issue I have with it is the join between the wing and the fuselage here. I've put a bit of plastic card there because I'm not going to use the stand, and I've got a little line to fill there. But basically what I'm going to do now is just give it a coat of primer, and we'll see what it looks like. But I've built quite a few vintage kits recently, and they're not as bad as what you think they are. It may be down to the molds are quite new when these were produced, or maybe as a collective group, our skill levels are a lot better now than what they were in the 1970s and 1980s. So like a 10-year-old might have made a real hash of this kit. An old codger like me seems to be able to glue it together in a reasonable, competent fashion. I have used some filler on this bit here. There's a bit of a sink. It wasn't a great join there. But otherwise, I'm going to give it a coat of primer. And I'll see if there's any other defects or holes need filling, but obviously I'll need to sort that out. I might just put a little bit of stretch sprue in there because I want to keep that step, because these are obviously movable flaps there. So let's do that. Let's get some primer on it and we'll see what it looks like. So here we have the basic mock-up, so I'm quite happy with that. I've got rid of all the seam marks and everything. That's the propeller on, just to roughly see what it looks like. The glass canopy fits really, really nice. So plan of action now is to paint the interior. Paint the pilot, who's been primed. That has got to be the worst pilot figure I've ever seen, but I like his scarf. So we'll just block paint them in just basic, a Tamiya or whatever I've got lying around, just to give basic colours. So interior green, maybe black seat. I might do his overalls as like a khaki colour with his yellow life preserver, and his scarf I might do that as red or blue or something slightly different. And we'll get him installed in the canopy, in the cockpit. It's sort of a strange sitting position when he's fitted in there. He's really well relaxed, a relaxed flying position. So once I get that in, I'll get the glasswork on, get the glasswork masked off. It's going to be quite difficult because it hasn't got very pronounced framework on the canopy, as you can see. So I'm going to have to use my luck, skill and judgment to get that masked properly. And then we'll get some colours on it. We'll get some 3 basic camouflage colours. So again, I'm going to use AK for the dark earth and the dark green. I really spray very nicely those 2 colours. So that's going to be the main camouflage. And for underneath, I'm going to do Royal Light Grey from Tamiya. The whole thing's going to be weathered right down. Ribena drink today, by the way. We'll weather it right down. I really want to give it a battered, well, not so much battered, but a well-used look. Scrape paintwork, patchy paintwork, sort of marks around the gun port, burn marks, and bits and bobs like that. Dirt on it as well, because it probably landed on a dirt strip. Right, so let's get on with that. We'll come back and see what it looks like. There we go. So the pilot's been painted and installed in the cockpit. Not the greatest of figures. I'll give him a little white silk scarf there as well, but I'm not quite sure how useful it's going to be in the tropics and the heat of Australia. But there you go. So that's the canopy all, the cockpit all done. I'm going to put the canopy on now. We'll get that masked up and then we'll get some paint on it. And when the fun begins with the weathering and the transfers. Okay, right now we've masked the canopy up, so I've spent about an hour doing that. Masked the canopy up with Tamiya masking tape and just some Mascol on the side windows and a bit on the front windscreen there. Now I want to get the green on. It is Sunday night later on. It's late on Sunday night, I should say. Work tomorrow, so I just want to quickly get some green on the plane. I am using AK dark RAF dark green. I've just put a dab of that in, and most all over my hand by the look of it. So Tamiya wooden deck tan, yeah. So just to lighten it up a little bit there, because I want to do is quite a little bit faded. So basically just going to blast it on, across the wing. Along the fuselage. The tail's going to be white, so it's something handy to hang on to when you're painting this. So sometimes you ever have issues with where do you hold a model when you're painting it. Plenty of paint on there. Right, I'll go ahead and finish the rest of the model, then we'll mask off and do the brown. So we now have the green on. That's got on airbrushed on lovely. Of course, AK colours airbrush really, really nicely. It's had a little touch of buff in it to lighten the green a bit. Now, the camouflage, I'm going to do dark earth, and I'm going to AK dark earth, and I'm going to put a drop of wooden deck tan again in Tamiya paint, just to give it a slightly lighter colour. Now, to mask off the disruptive pattern, I've used Humbrol mask oil. There's loads and loads of different types of masks out there, but I always find this one the best. Works for me. You know, it might work badly for some other people. There's different products out there, but this is ideal. All you do, basically, this is the brush I use. So it's knackered. It really does knacker the brush. So basically put a blob on it and just sort of draw it around, following the pattern, and you can get some nice really smooth curves with it. Obviously don't overload it because it will run and you'll just have blobs everywhere. But it takes a little bit of practice and you can get some nice sharp edges. I'm going to airbrush the brown colour on now. I'll quickly mix them up and I'll show you how I airbrush to try and keep a nice straight edge. So I'll mix the paint and fire up the compressor, I should say. So there we go, that's the colour I've gone for. So it's slightly lightened with the buff colour from Tamiya. Spray is okay. Spray is really nice. So now the idea is you don't really want to get a hard edge on the paint, so you want to spray away from the edge gently and try and build the colour up that way. It's easier for the mask to come off as well when you paint it like that. So just sort of fill the colour in. Don't want to over flood it. So I want to try and keep it slightly like a thinner colour so it dries as it's almost hitting the paint, hitting the surface. And that looks okay. So I'll go along and do the whole plane. We'll let that dry. We'll take the mask off, then we'll do the underneath on the grey, and then we'll do the white. Then we'll get on with the fun side of things to see if these transfers work. That's going to be very interesting. I'm optimistic. Right, so we've moved on a couple of days since I've airbrushed the brown on. And it's gone on quite nicely. So what we're going to do, we're going to take the mask all off. So you basically want to try and peel it towards the edge of the paint. So we'll see how it goes. Usually comes off reasonably easily. So I'm trying to get a nice straight edge. Let's see what that looks like. So that looks okay. So I'll peel the rest off and then we'll come back and see what it looks like, and I'll take the mask off the canopy as well and see if we have a winner. Now there we go, that's the mask all off, and we've got really nice demarcation lines between the green and the brown. So you can see it's very nice and smooth. Now what I meant to say, obviously when you peel the mask off in the direction of the paintwork so you don't get overlap, sometimes you get some dry bits. This is an old brush, I've just cut it down a bit. So like just stiff bristles, just push it up that way. So like if the brown's been sprayed on, it'll just take any flakes of paint if there's any left. But there's none because I've already done that. But apart from that, that's okay. That's nice and smooth. I'm quite happy with that. I'm okay with the canopy. I have gone in with a little bit green paint and touched it in already. So you can see I'm already starting the weathering process. So now I'm going to mask off the grey. So I'll mask off the top surface. Airbrush the grey on underneath. Now I'm going to airbrush the standard light grey on, then I'm going to go in with a slightly lighter patchy grey over like panel lines and things, just to like add a bit of interest to it. And then we'll mask the tail off, get that painted white, pick up the details, the undercarriage, the wheels, the engine, bits and bobs, and then we can get on with the weather and the fun bit. Okay, so let me mask that off. I'll get the old Tamiya masking tape out and we'll get that painted. And I'll demonstrate what I mean by like a bit of a shading effect on the grey. Right, I'm now going to paint the underside of the Boomerang. So it's all masked off with Tamiya masking tape there, and I've used just a bit of mask oil to run around the outside. It has run up the fuselage a bit, but that's not so much of an issue. So I'm going to get a nice straight line on the wings and the fuselage. So I've gone with the Royal Light Grey. I'm going with that from Tamiya, with a touch of XF1 Black from Tamiya as well, because I want quite a dark colour. So that's the colour I've mixed in the airbrush there. Slightly darker grey than what it would be. So I'll just quickly get some colour on that. Not worrying too much about the back end because obviously that's going to get the white tail. So I want to be careful. I don't want to overspray too much because I haven't protected that much of the fuselage on that side. So just cutting in along the wing edges there, along the back. I can always go in and touch it up with a paintbrush later on, which I probably will do because I'm obviously going to weather this model quite a bit. Right, so I'll go around and do the whole model like that, and then we'll come back with the highlight. Right, so that's the full dark grey on the underside. Nice coverage there. Tamiya paint's really nice. So I'm using AK real colours for the to thin them down with. So I've gone with straight grey now, and we'll just do some targeted airbrushing of that. We'll see how to demonstrate that. So I want to pick up the highlights here. So at the front of the fuel tank there, if you can see that. Get a bit more targeted, yeah. So like a little bit like less pressure. So you can see it's picking out the side of the panels. So where it's going to get stained around the gun ports, I'll leave that. Quite difficult to airbrush around the phone, so I'll move the phone out of the way, then I'll complete it. Now that's complete, you can see the effect I'm going for. So slightly patchy, a little bit worn, and you can weather into it and put some darker staining on it as well. The back of the fuselage here is not brilliant. It was quite a poor fit from Airfix, apart from the kit being quite impressive, so that's a bit rough. But I'll use that to my advantage. I'll sort of simulate some sort of like damage or dinted panels on that. But otherwise, that's the effect I'm looking for underneath, and I'm quite pleased with that. And we'll move on to removing the mask. Then we'll mask up the tail, and we'll get that painted white. It also has a blue tip, so we'll sort that out as well. Okay, so I've got the tail all masked off. The instructions that come with the kit, obviously being a very old set of instructions, I'll just show you here. Here we go for the paint call out. Yeah, it's pretty vague, isn't it? It looks like it's got like a kind of a step down. It doesn't look pretty accurate. You can get an idea like steps down on the drone, but I've double checked on ScaleMates because this kit's just been reissued by Airfix. And if you go on ScaleMates, it's a brilliant resource for modelers. It has pretty much every kit that's ever been manufactured, with its history, its date of manufacture, its reissues, its instructions are even on there. So I followed the paint guide instructions from that, and it's sort of like masked off on the tail plane like that. And it does kind of step down like that. So that's all masked off. God, it's easy to say. So I'm going to try this white. Now, I have tried this Tamiya lacquer paint before. I didn't really get that much success with it because I tried it on the Armour Hobby Sea Hurricane, which is sitting up here on the shelf. It was okay, but I think I went over it with Tamiya normal acrylic. I didn't really get the effect I was looking for, but that's it looks quite nice on the Sea Hurricane there. But that was the Tamiya other white. So we'll put that one back on the shelf, and we'll try the lacquer. So I'll load up the airbrush. We'll have a go with that. So I think the idea is to like get nice thin coat on the tail and build up the white, because I want a nice solid white colour. And we'll go from there. So I'll get some of that in the airbrush, and we'll see what it's like. So I've got the paint mixed in the airbrush. It looks a little bit thin, but look quite thick coming out of the bottle. So I shall have a go, and we'll have a go together and see what it looks like. I'll try and move that out of the way a little bit. I really need to get a bit closer for this. Right, let's see how this goes. I'll try there first. See, it's gone on all right there. But I don't want to get too thick and then it runs and then we're in trouble. So it looks like it's taking thin coats. Right, so I'll lightly go over the whole model, oh sorry, not the whole model, the tail, and we'll see what it ends up looking like. But obviously I'm going to have to wait for it to dry before I put the next coat on, so this could take a few goes. I'm sure it'll turn out quite well. It seems to be spraying better than the first time I used this paint, but that's probably down to me. As you can see, I've got quite a few coats on there, but it's still wet, and it looks like it might pool. So I don't want to go any further than that. I wanted that to dry. You can see it's shiny. I want really that to disappear before I put any more coats on. But I think another couple of passes, and I think it'll be acceptable. So I'll give another couple of passes, then I'm going to go let that dry. Actually, I'm going to go and wash the wife's car while that's drying. It should take about half an hour, so that should be dry by the time I come back. Then I'll put the blue flash on the top. I'm not going to wash my car. It's pointless washing my car. My journey to work's like about 10 miles of country road, so this time of year in Britain, there's loads of salt on the road, so your cars just get absolutely hacky dirty. Plus I'm on country road, so you've got the farmers dragging all sorts of rubbish on the road, and the very last place I pass is a quarry. So you've got trucks dragging all sorts of rubbish on the road. So that's my exciting next half an hour. So I'll let that, give it a couple more minutes. I'll put another couple of coats on, and then I'll be back in about half an hour. Okay, so that's the tail done. The mask taken off. It looks nice and clean. Quite happy with that. I put the blue flash on the top, just masked it and brush painted it. Now, like I said before, I've been using the instructions that came with the kit. It had the blue flash on there. It says for that flash to be blue. But on the reissued kit from Airfix on I forget the website I've just mentioned anyway, they have that as earth, colour as earth. So I've actually gone with the blue just to keep in more context with the original artwork there. So you've got a blue flash there, so I put the blue flash on the top. Pretty much ready for some transfers now. So go to my old favourite from AK, Shine Enhancer. So I'm going to paint the upper lower wings and the fuselage sides, because we've got some quite high rivet detail on here, and the glossier it is, I'll just take the propeller off. The glossier it is, the easier it is for the transfers to settle down. And I don't know how they're going to behave. So simple as that, just brush it on. It self levels. You get some air bubbles, but they disappear. Obviously keep an eye on it, make sure it doesn't run. And I'll do the other wing, and I'll do the fuselage side, and we'll come back. Okay, I'm suitably happy with that gloss coat on there, and you can also use it on the clear canopy and just paint it straight over, and look at the shine on that. That's pretty good. So let's try the transfers. So here we go. We'll try this one. So my preferred method is to cut it away from the sheet. So there's one transfer. Load up a paintbrush full of water, and just try and keep the edges down so it doesn't curl. Usually when they curl, they crack. The website's Scalemates, by the way. I've just double checked on the website, and it is Scalemates, and this kit's a 1965 issue. So this boomerang was created in 1965 as a new tool back then, 5 years before I was born, but never mind. But it's gone together really, really well. Let's see how the transfers work. So I've got my layout there. So we'll go with the wing ones first. So they're quite far out on the wing. We'll keep an eye on the transfer. It looks like it's going okay. You can see the water seeping through. It's got quite a heavier carrier film on it, but hopefully with the gloss application it might be okay. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put the transfer on without any solution or any assistance yet. We're just going to see what it's like with water, and we're just going to see if it works okay. So you can see on the back it's still a bit, it's not quite soaked through yet, but it seems to be working okay. And I'll just stop it for now, and then we'll come back once it's free off the backing paper. But it doesn't look like it's cracking. That looks like it's going to be usable. Only a few seconds, and it starts to move, and we have got a crack there. So let's carefully put it on the model. That might be my fault. Might have been a little bit too rough with it. So we're going to put it on the wing. Dab a bit more water on it to help it move. So we're going about there, and we'll just roll it on. Yeah, it has got a few cracks in it starting to appear. Right, so I might go with a brush on this and plenty of water. And we're going to move, don't want that to fall off. It's getting a bit tricky this, but stay with it. I'm sure I'll get it on. Yeah, I can see several cracks off or appearing in the transfer, but I'm careful with it. I think I'll get that on. Yeah, it's very brittle. Okay, let's get that lined up. So the roundels are quite difficult. Seem to go on okay. There's a little bit come off there. I don't hold much hope up for the big serial numbers on the side, but I'll get this lined up. So we're looking roughly about there. So I will let that dry. I'll line that up a bit better. Actually, that cracks there. So I'll close that up. So we'll let that dry naturally. We'll see what it looks like. But in the meantime, I'll try and put the other transfers on, and we'll see whether it's a disaster. And I might have to go ratting around the spares box, or let's see if I can get them on. Okay, trepidation. Transfers are on, and I'm going to say a partial success. So I'll just show you what we've got. So on the wing, you can see that the carrier film's quite lifted there. It has settled down okay over a couple of bits, but in other areas, not so good. Same on that side. That was the transfer that was cracked. Bit more of a disaster on the serial numbers. The Q totally fell apart. So I've just changed the Q for a T, which is from the other serial number. So they're pretty much it's got to be a generic aircraft. This again, it hasn't. Some bits have settled down okay, some haven't, particularly with the rivets. And it looks like I've got a bit of run from the blue onto the white. The other side as well, the F totally fell apart, but I do have another F, so I might try and remove that and replace it. It may be a case of ending up going for the spares box and finding some more transfers. But I'm adamant I really want to try and use these, so I'm going to go nuclear with the Decal solution, setting solution. This is the strong version. So where it's sitting, I thought I might have trouble with the rivets, even with like modern transfers. So if I run the knife just along there, like I said, it's really brittle, and along there as well. See, and a bit down there. Now I'll do that on all the transfers, and I'll put the solution on, and we'll come back and see what it looks like. I might take several attempts, and if it looks okay, then I'll seal it in with gloss, and like I say, we'll sort out the numbers on the side of the fuselage as well. Oh, the joys of old transfers. Right, quick update on the transfers. Let's have a look at them underneath the wing first. Now, obviously, that has been diabolical. So I've used decal setting solutions from Decal, this one here, which is a super strong one. And we have some effects where some of it's gone down, some hasn't. We've had some sort of colour run out from the transfer, and I couldn't get it all to sit down. So what I've gone over it is just to take all the flaky stuff off. And I thought, right, I'm probably going to have to give up on these transfers and get some other ones. But I've thought, before I do that, because I'm really obsessed with trying to use all the parts that's in the kit. So these ones were the same, but I've just touched in a little bit with a paintbrush and some paint, and I think it's going to be okay. So I'm going to finish off doing them. Again, the side markings weren't great, so I'll touch them in as well. A coat of varnish on them, and then we'll see what it looks like. But I think they're savable, and I really do want to use them because they have come with a kit, and I don't like to admit defeat. So I'm going to get on with them, and we'll get it all touched up, and I'm pretty sure I'll be able to use them. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. It looks all right. I'm going to crack on with the weathering now because I know this video is starting to run out of control time-wise. But touching it in with a paintbrush seems to work quite well. So I'm going to do some washes, some dry brushes. I'm going to lightly airbrush a little bit of deck tan to simulate some dust on the top of the wings and on the undercarriage. Then again, a few more washes, a few more dry brushes, a bit of chipping with some paint work, and a coat of varnish. But I'll get on with it now, because like I say, this video is going to run on and on and on. And voila, there we go. That's the finished model. I have weathered it a bit with some sort of washers on it. You can see, like on the tail planes and the vertical control surfaces and things like that, a bit, and the recesses as well. Now, and like in the tracks for where the hood would slide back. Now, basically for that, I've just used these two colours from Citadel. I can't recommend them highly enough. That's a brownish colour. That's a blackish colour. You can mix them together to get a darker sort of dark brown, blacky brown, grubby brown, sort of greasy colour. And you can move them around with water, so they're really good. And they're set really nice, so you can see, like, on those control surfaces, you get a nice line in the recess. Underneath as well, it's all done. The transfers, yeah, they haven't worked out great. I did paint them in and weather and varnish them in. They look okay. I suppose it's in keeping with the model, but they're not great. But I was determined to use them, so I'm quite happy the way it's turned out. As you can see, so like some scrape marks and scratch marks from the cowls on the bodywork, the wings and fuselage. I would have just went back to the original green and brown and just put slight touches in of them to give you the effect of like clean panels where hands have been down and sort of cleaned off the dust around the ammo opening hatches and places like that. A bit of scratching with some silver pencil as well around the walkway areas, again on the guide for the hood, and a bit on the trailing edge, the leading edge. So you can see I've airbrushed a bit black there as well around the gun ports, which I've drilled out, which I think add to the model. But that's the only additional thing I've put on the kit. The exhaust's got some staining as well. I put the pitot tube back on, and like I say, the transfers didn't work out brilliantly, but like I say, I wanted to make it as original as possible, and I don't think I could have done any better than that. Propeller and spinner on, engine painted with a lead sort of colour from Citadel with a wash of that Nuln oil again. Undercarriage, the hydraulics again, a wash of that Nuln oil and a little drop of silver paint, give you that sort of nice three-dimensional effect of the compression on those shockers. Aerials went in there, that's gone on. A little bit of gloss on the canopy. And from a kit from 1965, oh yeah, and remember I mentioned about some sort of damage on the fuselage, so I kind of put some lighter paint of grey around there, so it looks like it's been either patched up or touched in with paint or a bullet hole or something like that, just to try and mitigate that little blemish on the bodywork, which I should have sorted out before I continue. But there you go, you can always hide it or use your mistakes to your advantage. So there we go, that is one little Commonwealth Boomerang from Airfix 1965 kit. I'm quite pleased with that. I will put some pictures up at the end. If anyone got any questions, just give them just leave them in the comments there, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But otherwise, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in another video sometime soon. In fact, I'll give you a little preview. I'll give you a little preview what could possibly be coming next. We'll see you no more, and thanks for watching. Goodbye.